So we move from confidence to cooperation, and then we switch over to service. What role does that play in having a breakthrough?
Yeah, so you know who you are. You have your self-awareness, confidence. You know your team around you. Now the question is, what are you doing? And if your answer is you're doing it for a bank account, you're doing it for social media likes, you're doing it for everybody to look at you and tell you how good you are, you're going to be miserable. Like I know you have, I've been around a lot of billionaires that are very miserable because nobody in the history of ever, when they're on their deathbed, was like, you know what? Look at my bank account. I'm really content with my life because I made a lot of money for myself. Doesn't happen. So the third part is the what. What are you doing? And that is service. Now, when I say service, you're probably thinking, okay, I'm going to go serve at the local food bank. And that's great. Keep doing that. But true service is about pouring into others, giving your time and your energy when it's not convenient for you, when it doesn't align with your Google Calendar, color coordinated, you got a Zoom here, you got a meeting here, you got a meeting there. Like somebody's going to need you. And this is so real, man. Like it is never more important than the time we're living at right now, when mental health issues are at a skyrocketed high. Like if I would have known this years ago, I probably could have saved one of my friends' life. He was reaching out to me and I didn't even know it. It's just, and I know people have those stories and it's real. It's tough, man. But as far as like leadership and growth goes in the service industry, the time that I learned that this was so important to live in this was when I was coaching with the Nets and we were playing down in Dallas. And I love being the first person on the floor. It's my ambiance. You know, the whole arena to yourself. You're the first person out there. But this time I wasn't. There was a guy on the other side of the court shooting hoops and looked like just kind of like a bum off the street, if I'm being honest. These raggedy jeans, old shoes, and he's missing a lot of shots. And I walk by him and he turns to me. He's like, you know, the older you get, the legs go. And, you know, being a shooting coach is not true. I can't let that slide. It's like, you know, it's not all about the legs. It's how you generate the power, how you build your momentum. And I could tell he was very interested. He was intrigued. And I didn't want to give this 15, 20-minute lesson to a stranger. But a friend 3 weeks prior had challenged me. He's like, David, you got to live in the service mode. So meaning I had this ability to help people become better shooters. If I could, I would. So I give this guy some pointers. He's making more shots, more range on his shot. He's loving it, man. Now the real players start coming out to warm up. So we have to get off the court. And I say, hey, if you want more drills, like I'm more than happy to email them to you. He's like, yeah, please. Pulls out his business card, hands it to me. I slip it in my pocket. I'm on my way to get 5 minutes before the game, just to my own. And right before tip-off, I'm kind of curious. I'm like, all right, who is this guy? Who's this bum that I was helping out here? He's got this business card. I pull it out. It says Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks.
Wow.
I just been helping Mark Cuban harness his inner power for something he was passionate about. He loves basketball. He loves shooting. And literally, I emailed him the next day. He got back to me within 2 minutes.
I've heard he's record holder for emailing.
Yeah, now to have him in my friendship network, like I can ask him for business advice. It's just that would have never happened had I not been living in the service mode. I would have just blown by him. Now, I'm not saying do this for your own selfish gain, like everybody you meet's going to be a Mark Cuban. No, but if you walk into the room, and this is a tool that I give leaders and anybody, if you walk into the room and you look at your hands and you say the word serve. So look at your hands and say the word serve when you open the door. It's going to take a lot of pressure off you because it's not about you and who you meet and who you can network with, which is a dirty term. It's all about what you can pour into others, how you can serve them. So when you pour into others and you don't expect anything in return, you use this God-given ability that you have to serve, it all comes back to you. You know it. I know it. It's crazy. Literally, when you pour into others and you don't expect them to give back to you, it comes back tenfold. It just works that way. So the true service mode, giving your gifts when it is not convenient for you.
Yeah. We talk around here a lot about how servant leadership is a redundant term. It's just assumed that if you're in leadership, you are there to serve. And so I love that reminder, and what an awesome story there. So we move through 3 stages now in this breakthrough formula. We go from confidence to cooperation to service, and then we end with purpose. And a lot of people, like, Simon Sinek, you have start with why. We're ending with the why here. What's going on there?
So the why, it's not necessarily about what you are doing, your purpose, but it's who you're doing it for. And if you have passion and you have that purpose, knowing you're doing it for something bigger than yourself, you're now on mission. You don't have a job, you don't have a career, you're on mission. So I love when I meet somebody who's obsessed with what they do. And now when I say the term obsessed, a lot of people will cringe like, "Ooh, no, David, you're supposed to be 80-20. Where's this balance?" No, that's BS. It's BS. Like 80-20 is just for the world to tell us, "Oh, fill your time with yoga classes, with Netflix." Like, no, I'm going to be obsessed with what I'm passionate about. I don't want to be 80-20 loving my wife. I don't want to be 80-20 with the mission that I'm on to serve and lead. Like, I'm going to be obsessed with it. And I love this obsession. Like when you go down to the local coffee spot and there's the barista who's just telling you everything about the bean he's about to roast. You're like, "Oh, this is from Nicaragua, 37 degrees Fahrenheit." Like, that's really, really attractive to me because he's not doing it for the money. He's not doing it for the accolades. He's doing it to bring other people joy. And I tell a story in the book about Jiro, the sushi guy. Jiro dreams of sushi. If you know sushi, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm obsessed with sushi. So I went over there to Japan because I was coaching I was consulting for the Japanese Basketball League. And I'd be lying if I told you part of the reason wasn't to just get great sushi. I wanted to find this guy, man. I wanted the best sushi in the world. So I'm going on this hunt for 3 days before I have to be on court and can't find him. Finally, the third day, I get a tip of where he's at. It's underneath a train station. 2 stories underneath a train station is where this guy's spot is. But they don't let anybody down there. They don't let anybody take pictures. Because I was going to take a selfie by the name Jiro and just, put it on Instagram. Everybody would think I went there because, that's real life anyways. Just post a picture and it happened. No, but so I had one more chance. And I went the next morning to the Shizuki fish market, world famous fish market. You have to get there at 4 a.m. They're auctioning off these massive tunas for $3,000 and upwards. It's a wild experience. But I think, okay, if you're the best sushi maker in the world, you want the freshest fish, you're gonna be here. So I've got my phone out with the picture of Jiro and I'm scanning people and I'm about 97% sure that this was him.
You don't want to catch the wrong guy and take a selfie.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I'm following this guy around and these fish markets are massive, like rows and rows and rows and rows for like a mile. And he's going through this routine. He's picking up a fish. He's touching the scales. He's smelling it, even putting it to his ear, like some weird stuff, but it's his routine. And then he puts it down. He goes to the next one. Same thing, again and again. And it's about an hour in, and I'm like, he's just picking up these fish. I'm like, man, just pick a fish already. Because I got to get on court here pretty soon. And word to the wise, if you have to do something important, don't ever go to a fish market. You're going to smell like fish for weeks.
I was going to ask
so you know.
how bad the smell was over there.
It was bad. Yeah, it was bad. So he finally picks up this fish, does his routine, and then chooses that fish. Like, how cool is that? The best sushi maker in the world was so obsessed with finding the best fish so that he could make the best sushi that night to bring other people joy. Like, he didn't care. He had this documentary. He probably didn't even know he had this worldwide documentary out. But he was going to do that because he was obsessed with bringing other people joy. And when you live in that, when you have this God-given gift, don't hide it. Don't hide it. Like God gives us these gifts to be able to use. But far too often, we're like, you know what? Sally, my coworker, or Jonathan down the street, like, they don't think it's the right thing to do. You're slapping God in the face, man. Like, if you love playing the piano, say you love playing the piano, and I buy you a massive grand piano, just beautiful, makes amazing sounds, and you put it in the corner of your room and throw a tarp over it, that would be a slap in my face. That's what it's like when we hold back our gifts. We slap God in the face. So the true purpose is whatever you're obsessed with, like, go for it. It doesn't have to be your career, but go for it to bring other people joy because it's not necessarily about what you do, but it's who you do it for.